Last video. Boom.
Lighting, the
New Office Analysed. Let's have a look.
new Source 2 version of Office is very similar to the 10-year-old CSGO version, which
Didn't we see this already?
itself was a half retextured version of the 20-year-old Counter-Strike Source version of this map. This makes some parts of this map nearly 20 years old. Many assets throughout this time have remained virtually unchanged, like these folders,
Never mind, we didn't. We saw the new one.
computers, mugs, and even some of the textures. Some even appear lower resolution than the ones we got back in 2004. Don't get me wrong, when we first got the Source version of Office, it was among the most beautiful of the Source 1 maps.
Wow.
It was clear that a lot of love and effort had gone into making this map and all of its fun little details. It's just that expectations were simply different back then. This timeline shows what I mean. We first got Office for
1999.
Counter-Strike back in 1999. Then in 2003 it was remade for Condition Zero. Then just a year later it was remade again for Counter-Strike Source. That's roughly 2.5 majorly different versions of this map in just 5 years. So it was unthinkable at the time to imagine that 2004 version would still form the groundwork of a new version of the map released 20 years later, and on a new game engine. Yet here we are, and thanks to a midlife refresh come CSGO's release and then another new lick of paint, quite literally, for Counter-Strike 2, it somehow stands the test of time, with virtually everything about this map having changed in some way, even if very few things have changed in every way. But it goes to show that there's a lot more to graphics than simply better textures and more polygons, and Source 2's more advanced materials and lighting helps to transform this otherwise ancient map into something that could almost pass for ray traced. And this is best demonstrated with this fire extinguisher example, which I made a whole video about, showing how it's made and what makes it look so realistic. That video is 6 minutes long, so I won't linger on it here as well. But I will just say that this is a great example of how much Counter-Strike 2 can make of so little, as can my YouTube channel. I think the jump from this to this is at least several generations worth of graphical improvements all rolled into one. If I'm honest, I even prefer how Counter-Strike Source looks in this spot, because while CSGO might add more stuff to it, like this fire extinguisher, it doesn't mean it makes it look better. For example, I don't think Counter-Strike Source's iconic blue, brown and white colour scheme was improved when CSGO converted the corridors to a murky green-yellow instead, or the office sections to a putrid pink and yellow. And I think Valve acknowledged that by the way they changed it all again for Counter-Strike 2, though it all feels a bit too clean to me. Again, I think the original Source version nailed the feeling of a smart yet slightly dated and lived-in place. I'd like to see what CS2 could look like if changed back to these colours again. But one area the original was kind of boring in was in these smaller rooms.
Bro, I prefer that as well. CS2, it feels like there's a filter on there. I don't know, like a sepia Instagram filter with some like sharpness toned down. I don't know. It's like creamy. I don't know.
When Source first came out, it was normal to
warm.
get an empty room and to decorate it with lots of generic props, which made lots of places, like this one, feel rather pointless. So for CSGO to transform one of these generic storage rooms into a kitchen, I think was a step in the right direction. It makes more sense in the setting, and it makes the room more memorable and easier to call out. This conference room right here is a great example of what difference lighting can make. Because most of the stuff in this room, like the ceiling lights, the chairs, the stuff on the table, and the table itself, remains virtually identical throughout all 3 Source versions of this map. Yet the lighting changes, and this makes so much of a difference. So Counter-Strike Source's projector room is dark and empty, but there's so little here that there's little to criticise. CSGO adds stuff to the room, but everything it adds merely serves to highlight how bad Source 1 looks, I think. I mean, the room is better lit, yet everything on the table looks too bright. Stuff on the ground has shadows, but it reminds us of how blocky Source 1's shadows were. Meanwhile, thanks to the prettier colours and all those little shadows around everything, Source 2 somehow manages to bring these 20-year-old assets up to modern day standards. Were it not for a few low poly jagged edges to things, this somehow looks acceptable for a game that's hopefully released sometime this year, in 2023. If I switch to third person, you can see that these new real-time shadows that were used in Nuke are also present in this map. These are kind of like mini versions of the lighting that you get outside in CSGO, only they cover a limited area indoors, and I've seen my character casting 1, 2, and in this instance, 3 different indoor shadows all at once. Again, I see a few places in this map where shadows can give away your position before turning a corner. This wouldn't be a problem were it not for that these shadows don't exist at lower graphic settings, and this new method of lighting is more of a problem on this Office map, because it means the projector doesn't even show unless you're gaming at high settings. What a shame, because it looks so awesome now it's finally lit exactly like you'd expect a projector to.
Bro, that looks fucking sick right there.
Be lit. In fact, this projector behaves differently in each version of Counter-Strike. In Counter-Strike Source, you can see that the player doesn't cast a shadow onto the wall behind them. but the projector does light the player up. Sure, it's only a generic looking bright light, and it's only per polygon, so it appears to dance across my person as he moves. But I do like how it lights him up more the closer to the projector that he gets. There's something very convincing about how it does this one particular thing. In CSGO, I think the projection gets brighter the closer the player is stood to it, or it might just be the glowy effect accompanying this projector model that's doing that. But one thing's for sure, in CSGO it does correctly project the projection onto the player model, instead of just being a bright light like it was in CSS. So I think this is an improvement, even if the player still doesn't cast a shadow across the screen behind him. But CS2 finally nails it. It can get all three aspects completely right. Because the image is still projected onto the player, it now gets brighter the closer the player is to the projector, and the player can finally cast real-time shadows onto the wall behind him.
Nice.
It's even better than this, as you can see that even individual items dangling from the body now cast shadows onto whatever's behind them, self-shadowing. And you can see that CSGO and CSS were both unable to do this. So this is a big win for CS2, even if you're never going to notice it in a proper match. But who plays Office competitively anyway? Actually, don't answer that. No, I think this is a great little detail that's been featured on the correct map. Because this is hostage mode. Nobody should take it seriously, with the terrorists camping this room every round and staring at each other's models in way too much detail as they await for the CTs to finally attempt and fail to storm the room. Well done, Valve. Now go and make it work on all graphic settings. Outdoors is where most people have had issue with the newest version of Office. Starting with the oldest Source version, I feel that Counter-Strike Source is quite iconic, with its grand-looking blue bricked walls and stormy-looking sky and distant buildings. CSGO's version changes it enough that it's no longer directly comparable, but it does away with a dramatic view
Bro, it looks so ugly.
of distant skyscrapers in exchange for a few extra dull-looking stories to the main office building that you can't even go to anyway. But it does add falling snow, which I know a lot of you are fond of. CS2 does away with this falling snow again, and it moves the whole map
Sauce looks so nice. What is it about Sauce?
in an odd direction, because it turns everything bright blue. You can't complain, because you were complaining that Counter-Strike 2 was making every map too bright and sunny, so a totally overcast Twilight map like this one is exactly what you were asking for. But it took me a bit by surprise because the early screenshots of Counter-Strike 2 showed it being much brighter and sunnier. By toning down the
What?
sunlight, they've
That's not how it looks like right now. Interesting.
done away with the real-time lighting outdoors entirely, and so Valve has opted to rely solely on their baked-in lighting instead. And not only is it only baked in, it's super soft baked-in lighting. Sounds delicious, doesn't it? But it means it's lit by nothing but the ambient glow of an overcast sky. This is something that I don't think would ever have looked nice in CSGO, so I see this as Valve having fun with the new lighting possibilities that Source 2 provides. But I agree, it is very blue. I'm not impressed by the texturing on the buildings, but I do like this new snow texture, with slushy looking icy puddles representing the paths through this section of the map. It's a great use of the new
That looks good.
reflections, which can be higher in resolution, brighter than before, and more parallax corrected than Source 1 could do. And of course, by making everything so blue and cold feeling outside, it makes the warm glow from inside all the more inviting. Office in Counter-Strike 2 is a very snug, homely environment to inhabit. Time for another lengthy tangent. You see those distant environments? Let's see how they compare across
Bro, this fucking fly. I have to take a rejuicer to kill it.
the different versions of Counter-Strike. In my opinion, they've got worse. To show you what I mean, I headed way back to the oldest version of Office, which had this 2D skybox and nothing else. Graphics in games have surpassed what we see here in every meaningful way, yet this to me still looks beautiful. I can taste the atmosphere. It's a bunch of skyscrapers, a few rocky things which don't look like mountains but they do when you're in the game, and then there's lots and lots of snow, and a frozen lake. Look at this. It's an office with a factory and route down to a frozen lake. What a wonderful environment.
Shit, that looks so nice. I think it's because it has character. Is that it? CS2, it could be as well like a screenshot from Warzone or something.
This is. Sadly, Condition Zero nerfed the scale of this by making it feel more like a bunch of forested hills and not much lake, which was a step backwards in my opinion. And then when we moved to Source, it removed this view completely and gave us a snowman instead. So this earliest Source version of the map may have done away with the frozen lake, but it at least tried to represent the mountains and skyscrapers of the oldest version. Sure, the mountain is like 5 pixels, but you don't really get to see that in-game. You just get a sense of the scale and presence of distant looming mountains through the fog. And I like the way the skyscrapers all have their lights on, like it's approaching nighttime. I feel like this Counter-Strike Source version of Office is chock full of eerie Source-era atmosphere, and is one of the best 3D skyboxes from its era, though I'll have to make a whole video analysing that to know for sure. CSGO removes the mountains completely, and the windy howly sounds, which makes it all just feel more like a city on a cloudy day. This to me makes the world seem a lot smaller, and it isn't an obvious improvement, in my opinion. And Counter-Strike 2 uses the exact same 3D skybox assets again, but with a cloud layer cutting through the buildings about halfway up. It looks worse when I'm viewing it like this, but from an in-game perspective, I think it makes the environment feel larger again and more mysterious when peering up at it like this. But I still think they should have used the Counter-Strike Source skybox instead, but with new and improved textures and materials. Or better still, gone back further to the original by adding a distant frozen lake here again, perhaps revealing the last traces of a sunset on the far side. Wasted opportunity for something really impressive in my opinion. I just wish there was a way I could somehow simulate how this could have looked. Using the power of AI, I type a prompt of what I want, a reference image for it to base the art style off, and another image for the layout. Then, using the power of AI, it will mix these three things up and will spit out an image of exactly what I wanted all along. Yes, maybe
what? 3 clicks?
Mix these three things up and we'll spit out an image of exactly what I wanted.
What the fuck? What was this prompt, bro?
Yes, maybe I am a bit of an AI image generating addict. This isn't even the first time this year that I've done it to Office, but I argue that in this case, it's a great way of testing many different styles.
Oh, this fucking fly! Chad, I may have to kill it.
It only takes one to help give the mapper inspiration.
Yo, chill.
And here are but a few of the results I generated to demonstrate how this area beyond the map could look. It makes me want to return to using 2D skyboxes again, full of larger-than-life mountains and that surreal, mysterious atmosphere that no number of polygons can replicate. And this view wouldn't just have to be seen from this spot of the map. To justify its inclusion, it could even be seen from this area here, or even from CT spawn, because I've never been too impressed by this edge of the map before. Especially not this room, which still feels half-finished to me, even now. It doesn't even have a leaking pipe anymore. Valve, please break. But before I shit on this map any further, let's praise what it gets right. It transforms these static trees in CSGO into lifelike, swaying things. We've had a flag flapping about like crazy before, yet until now the trees in Office have always remained completely static. Bit of an oversight there, Valve! These plants were already dotted along the main corridor, but now they actually cast interesting looking shadows across the floor. The light comes from tiny spotlights, so the shadows that are cast are relatively sharp and defined, and they blend into each other in fascinating ways. You'd almost imagine that Valve designed this corridor specifically to showcase this effect. But no, it was exactly like this before. It just took CS2's superior lighting to make it finally look like it always should have done. That's right, for 0 extra polygons and 0 extra slowdown, these cheap little props here now decorate another quarter of this corridor. Now that's value for money. Another little touch you've probably noticed but not noticed is the appearance of smoothed off corners. In CSGO, these right angles were harshly shaded, either side of the edge. But CS2 seems to smooth all this off. It probably shouldn't since it is a sharp corner, but I believe it's this that helps give CS2 that shiny, plasticky feeling to everything, and the impression that there is more detail in places than there actually is. You can really see this smoothing effect on these dank, slimy corners at CT spawn, where the wet-looking highlights seem to pull in the corners of this car park. Again, it's just a simple right-angled corner, same as it was in Go, but somehow it feels more realistic now, thanks to the appearance of a curve of some kind. What's funny is that some of these corners in CSGO did have a curved edge, yet still looked blocky, so Valve was clearly aiming for these places to have the smooth look that it has in CS2, where the effect has been achieved with exactly 0 actual curve. One place it doesn't do this new effect is outside, along these stone bricks here, and here it just looks wrong to me, with an abrupt change to how bright things should be. It might be right, but it just doesn't look it. Let's investigate Office's destruction. It's great to see this map still shitting for beefy
This is the important part.
computers, even when they haven't received an upgrade since 2004.
This still blew my mind. I didn't know about the CSS thing that it did that already there. This is, bro, look at the right, look.
Computers break apart piece by piece, just like they did in CSGO, and just like they did in Counter-Strike Source. So this is a nice little detail.
I didn't even know, bro, in CSGO did it as well. What the fuck? How did I not know? You guys said fucking Pac-Man. You guys said PogChamp when we disassembled the PC. Guys, the fuck?
That has remained unchanged for about 20 years. Unfortunately, the damage has been toned back elsewhere. These monitors used to split in two if shot, but now simply show bullet holes on them. Now, I've personally never shot a monitor before, so this could be more real.
Why did he make 2 videos? Huh? Yo, 3 clicks, bro. What's going on?
Realistic, but it feels like a step. And sure, they'll still ask for free. Did you know that every outdoor bit of the map beyond the playable space is deeply flawed? Check this out. See that?
But why? Is that a mistake? Does he not know? That makes no sense. You put one big video and then 2 small ones.
Let's invest.
Like I do YouTube as well. To me, this makes no sense. Or because if you watch this video, now the watch time is lower. because I would have watched the whole video otherwise, but now I ended at 70%, you know? 3 clicks. Okay. Boys, W videos always, bro. W new video by 3 clicks. Good. 3 clicks trying to get into YouTube Shorts trend. Yeah, but this is not a short. Did you make a shot of it? What's this?
Player shadows can only be seen indoors at high shadow quality or above, and it can give away a player's position. There's an especially bright light under the ground in bombsite B, which will cause your character to cast a massive shadow on the ceiling when he stood in the centre of the site. So there's one of these real-time shadow casting things present in almost every room of Nuke, and it does reveal a player's position in some very important spots. Here he is in this example. And here's a player shadow.
Chat, I still can't imagine this game on the big stage, simple on it, simple seeing Twister's shadow right here, zack.
Giving away his position.
Bro, the first tournament is going to be fucking fantastic. It's going to be so interesting.
Here as well. Even the sunlight in bombsite A is done using these real-time lights. Look at this. At medium or low shadow setting, this player shadow doesn't appear at
Looks like Minecraft.
all. I don't know what Valve's going to do about this. It seems like a major oversight from them. They're either going to have to make it so that the character shadows are projected at all shadow qualities, or at none at all. Or a third option would be to have some weird cutoff where the shadow fades out early, like it seems to be doing in this doorway for reasons I'm not sure of just yet. But I do hope they keep these shadows in, because it looks kind of sad without them.
True.
Player shadows can only...
True. Very true.